to Welcome to Jackie's Lyric Corner. I am Jackie, and it's time for a bookish update. So, I finished The Shadow of Night, and decided to go ahead into The Visitors by Sally Bowman. She's also the same author who wrote Rebecca's Tale, which I don't know if I knew that or not. I don't know if when I bought either of those books that I even noticed that is the same author, but I'm curious if she has any other books. The blurb on the little back description of the author does not mention any other books. It just mentions Rebecca's Tale. In this one, I'd already put on my mention as a book I wanted to read this summer, so I figured let me go ahead and pick it up before I pick up any of my more recent purchases, which I was tempted to do, but I said, I feel bad if I buy books and then I immediately go to the ones I just purchased instead of reading the ones that I bought years ago or months ago or weeks ago. Like, I want to prioritize those before I jump immediately to the new ones. But I am strongly tempted a lot of times to pick up a book that I just bought and read that. Like, today was a good day. There is a book haul in this video that will be in this video. But yeah, today was a good book shopping day. So The Visitors takes place in the 1920s. It's one of those, it does one of my favorite tropes, which is the go back and forth between the present day of the story and then the past, where you have the narrator looking back on a certain event in their life. So we have our main character, Lucy, and her mom she is with her, I guess she would be considered her governess, Miss Mackenzie, and they are visiting Egypt while her dad is back home in London. He is a professor at Cambridge. Her mom died of typhoid fever, and then you find out that actually she had contacted it, but obviously survived. So it has affected her physical features. And so they are in Egypt, and then it's in the 1920s, and they are exploring all the tombs and stuff, and they make friends with the bunch of these explorer archaeologists, including this American archaeologist and his wife and daughter, who the daughter, let me see, Frances, who is I think a year or two young. I know she's younger than Lucy. And now in the back description, I know that they find one of the more famous, I think it's King Tut. I don't know how to say the Egyptians and a lot of the Egyptian names, so I'm assuming it's King Tut. They find his tomb. I haven't got to that part yet, but I know, according to the back description, that's what's going to be the catalyst in the story, is something's going to happen, or there's going to be a discovery. But anyway, so far I really am enjoying it. I'm really intrigued by the relationship between Lucy and Frances, and it's kind of funny because, like Lucy, I forgot for a second that her new friend Frances is younger than her, because she acts like she's older. She acts like she's more worldly and understands things that Lucy doesn't. And because because these kids are like, I don't remember how old Frances is, but I know that Lucy is only 11, and they are kind of surrounded by a lot of adults that have a lot of problems, a lot of issues that they're overhearing. And now some of these adults are talking to them like adults, but also trying not to, knowing that they can't tell them too much because they're kids. And, there are some of the adults in the story who are like, children should be seen and not heard. And Princess is definitely one of those kids that is like, she's very like, she's like someone that she doesn't like not being told things by the adults in her life, and she doesn't understand them, and it gets incredibly frustrating. While Lucy is more of the do what I'm told, like, yes, I don't appreciate that, but I'm also not going to question it. I'm going to be a good girl. but I think she also has a lot of anger in her. Um, and this is the books like this will probably is when I was younger why I would think archaeology is so cool and so fun. I want to be an archaeologist. But I know that in the end, it probably in real life is actually probably boring and dangerous, and maybe even potentially dangerous. Although probably more boring than dangerous, because like movies and books always make it more exciting than it is. Because even this book, but I'm also it makes it a little bit more exciting. But I am also a history person, so anything that where people are exploring about history, whether it's actually going to the place and doing an archaeological dig versus actually sitting in the classroom hearing about it, I'm always intrigued. Like I really enjoy the History Channel. It's not always on in my house, but sometimes it is. Like my dad's been watching it a lot lately. Meanwhile, I've been watching some movies that normally I would not be watching back when I was younger. But now I will explain that in a minute. Why I said that. But so it's really intriguing. I definitely want to, and I feel like something's gonna come between Lucy and Francis, because I already sense there's some potential tension between them, like very different views and stuff. Like Francis is very much, wants to believe what she wants to and refuses to. Like she looks at everything with more rose-colored glasses, especially with the adults that she meets that aren't her parents. While Lucy is, I think, a little more observant and sees things, and she doesn't entirely understand it, but I think she understands a little bit better than Francis does. She doesn't look anything with rose-colored glasses. She looks more from a more naive lens, but not so naive that she's gonna try to pretend like everything's all fine and this person's really great and everything. Um, but I really like all the Egypt stuff. These are Egypt books that I'm more prone to read than. Well, no, I shouldn't say that because I do like, I think I would like, an Egyptian romance, but I think I'm more prone to read these kinds of books. Well, I know that my friend Terry's probably more into the romantic end of it and the actual history part. Um, and like, or the more romantic end of, um, but I like more learning about the history and learning about the different kings and stuff. And they did mention Ramesses, who is like one that in that Bible story when Moses rescues the Jews and everything. I think it's the same Ramesses because they mentioned his father, Seti, and I think it's the same one. They talk about that and that history and everything, but of course it's set in the 1920s. So, and I don't know if these characters have read the Bible or not, or if they're Christian. Lucy, I really find it interesting this observation that Lucy makes, where like they go to this valley, not a valley as in the way we think of, but like what they consider a valley, like where I think there's all these tombs there, like a valley of the dead, and they're asking one of the, I think it's Dr. Carter is asking what Lucy observes and what her thoughts are, her initial thoughts when they take her to the Valley of the Dead, because it's her first time seeing it. And she talks about how it kind of makes her sad because she wishes that explorers and archaeologists hadn't started digging here and exploring things, and that if their tombs hadn't been made so grand and have so many things to, then people wouldn't be tempted to dig up their graves. And I think in a way she's not wrong, but I kind of understand what Francis' father explains to them later, that it's part of their culture, and they believe that they wanted their ancestors, the people, that their loved ones, to have their comforts when they died. But yeah, it's kind of like at the same time, you feel like they're disturbing these tombs, and some people are stealing their stuff. So I think both Francis's father, I think it's Winlock. Is there a family name? Winlock, and then Frances herself, or not Frances, and Lucy herself make some good points about that. But yeah, so I'm not very far into the book. It's a survive fund. I'm only on chapter 17. Um, but I'm probably gonna need to read some more. Maybe after I film. Although if there's a video on YouTube I want to watch. It's not a book related video. It's still a cinema therapy video I want to watch. So I might do that. Well, although first I'll finish Katie for Books and Things video on what is literary fiction, and then I'm gonna watch that cinema therapy book. Video. So that's what I'm currently reading. I don't know. I still don't know what I'm gonna read next. I might get to Secrets of Heartwood Hall because I still want to get to my newer purchases as soon as possible, and that's a newer purchase that I got earlier in August. So these are my and there's also I might read the Pillow Book. As I am thinking about the Pillow Book and still doing that, combine reading the Pillow Book with the Grace of Kings. And there's another book I might add to my Kindle for knock on wood, because I'm still worried that something's gonna go wrong or we're not gonna be able to go on our trip to London. I might add one more book to my Kindle for the trip, but I might not get to it anyway, because of course when you're going on a vacation, you can, depending on where you're going, which in this case we're going to a place where it's not like the beach or something. It's a place with it's London, so there's going to be a lot of tourist stuff we're going to be doing. So I might not be doing a lot of reading. At least I'll do reading. I probably will read at night, but then I could potentially fall asleep. I'll read maybe if we're on a bus or something and we go, transport from different places. I might though. I might not even then, because there's gonna be a lot of stuff to look at outside the windows of the bus. But I'll probably read on the plane there, and on the plane, which is a long flight. So I don't know. I'm thinking about getting another book. Buying another book for my Kindle. But I got 2 books already that are long. But anyway, so I don't know. I might buy one, but let me show you the actual physical books I recently purchased. So actually, I'm gonna show you first some books that I don't know if I showed you guys these books yet. I apologize if I have. I don't remember, and I'm gonna be lazy here, I feel like being lazy and not going through and looking at my videos to see if I showed you guys these. Besides, I'll probably also have to watch it, and I don't like watching or listening to myself, because I do not like the sound of my voice. So I ended up getting, this was a book I got, this is one I had thought about getting before, and I mentioned it. I don't think I gave you guys the title, but I think I mentioned it, that I wanted to buy it. Like I said, I don't know, I might have talked about these books already, but, Veni Vidi Vici. Everything you want to know about Romans, but were afraid to ask. So I think it's more of a little, like facts and stuff, factoids and stuff. And I know there were some reviews of it that said, don't get it if you don't know anything about Rome, or something like that. Like, like there were some of the negative reviews were more like it is for certain types of readers, certain type of people. And it's like, so it's a history book, but I don't think it's the most thorough history book. Like, it doesn't give you everything. Like, if you're completely clueless and you don't know anything and you want to learn more about, or it could be like more of, I don't know. I would have to look back on that review, but the back says, The Romans left a long-lasting legacy, and their influence can be still seen all around us, from our calendar and coins to our language and laws. But how much do we really know about them? Help is at hand in the form of Veni Vidi Vici, which tells the remarkable and often surprising story of the Romans and the most enduring empire in Roman history. But I remember thinking about buying this one before, and I passed on it the first time, so this time I decided to get it because it was still there. And sometimes I decide if a book is still there, sometimes if I am genuinely still interested when I go there, then I'm like, oh, this is a sign I should buy it. Sorry, I recently just cut my hair again, had my hair cut again, and when it's this length, it tends to do this where it covers the one eye. Okay, so there's that one, and then I'll come back to that. Okay, next. Is Erik Larson's Dead Wake. So I read Erik Larson's other book, Devil in the White City, which is about the Chicago World's Fair and H.H. Holmes. I really like that one, although I get one of the criticism of it, especially the whole fact that it feels like you're reading two different stories, because, half of it focuses on H.H. Holmes and his antics, and then the other one is talking about the creation of the Chicago World's Fair. But I really like that, and I think that one was adapted. I think it was adapted, but it was adapted on, the adaptation was on, Hulu or Paramount or somewhere. So it was one that, it was a streaming network, it was showing on a streaming network that I didn't have access to. And, I'm not gonna buy a streaming network just for one particular thing. I have to know that there's a lot of stuff on there I'm interested in, and I don't know. So, this one is about the Lutesanina was, I think it was the sister ship to Titanic. And like Titanic, I believe it sank as well. And I know that book, the one book I borrowed from the library about from a couple years ago, that was about that. I can't remember what the book is called, but it was this one woman's account. She was a maid, I think, on the ship on Titanic, and she was also on the Lutesanina. I don't know how to say it. She was also on this ship as well, but I think in both cases she survived, obviously, because she was able to write that book, that memoir. So I think she talks about that experience as well. But I really love, I really like how his books read like fiction. It makes it easy to read, narrative I really enjoy narrative nonfiction. And now I haven't read all. I've only read one. I have not read In the Garden of Beast or Thunderstruck or Isaac Storm. I never even heard of that one. Of course, I have not heard of the other ones. The only one I've heard of is Devil in the White City. And I think there's other Erik Larson books that I've seen. But I like how Devil in the White City was written, and I am sure it's going to be the same way with this one, obviously. But yeah, like I said, this one sounded interesting because, there's going to be, just like Devil in the White City, there's probably going to be a lot of interesting people that he's going to tell us, that the book's going to tell us about. And some of them obviously are going to stop. Some of them hopefully will survive. Some of them won't. Which is, these stories are so heartbreaking. But whenever I see that the movie Titanic, which I know it's Titanic itself isn't real, but the whole Jack and Rose story obviously is not real. But although I like to think that there are some people that were on Titanic that might have been like Jack and Rose. I mean, who knows? There could have been a Jack and Rose on the Titanic. And we just don't know about it yet. But that movie always makes me cry, and I watch it all the time. Even though it's super long. But anyway, so I'm looking forward to reading this at some point soon. I don't know when I will read it, but I try to do seasonal reading, but it never, it never goes. And yeah, I made those videos on books I recommend for certain seasons, but in the end, I guess this makes me a hypocrite, but I will not, probably won't be reading those during those seasons. I mean, some of them I might, but I don't know, I just can't get into seasonal reading because I want to read certain books right in the moment. I mean, when I want to read them when I want to read them, and I guess maybe that makes me more of a mood reader. So there's those two. There's two of them, and then we have, okay. I'm showing you these three first, because these were books that I bought at Gibbons the last time I went, which before today, because I went today. Then we have The Rose Labyrinth by Tatiana Hardy. Now I was a fan of The Da Vinci Code and Angels and Demons. I haven't read any of the other book. Well, I've also read his Origins, and there was one more book of his that I read. I cannot remember what it was. But I have not read Deception Point. And like I said, I get the criticisms he receives, and how he writes female characters is not great, but I like the premises. I like his premises, and I know that it's like based on like the stuff isn't necessarily true. It's conspiracy theories and all that, but the whole concept of them his books are really cool. So I always look for books that do something similar to his stories, like compare to his novels, like the what was it called? Let me see if I can't see it on here. I don't know where it is, but I'm trying to look for the something Rose. Umberto Echoes the name of the rose. Umberto Echoes the name of the rose. I really like that one, and that was that kind of made me think of Dan Brown's. But I should say more Umberto Echoes, his other book that I recently bought that I did start reading, Foucault's Pendulum. It's been compared to, people have compared it in their reviews to Dan Brown and saying it's a better version of Dan Brown's works. So anyway, this one made me think of Dan Brown as well, because I mean, like the line you have, a riddle to unravel, a legacy to unearth, a heart to mend. First of all, the cover is beautiful. I love roses. But yeah, with the heart-pounding thrills of the Da Vinci Code and the richly woven storytelling of the expected one, I don't know what that is. And this is a reader's guide. So this is a reader's guide book, and Katie for Books and Things video mentions books that have the reading group books, and I think this would be one of them. So, nearly 400 years ago, the brilliant Elizabethan spy astrologer, mathematician John Dee hid evidence of his shocking ideas in 3 precious boxes, the only clue to their whereabouts, locked in a series of intricate riddles passed down through his female descendants. Now, the ancient puzzle and a tiny silver key have unexpectedly landed in the hands of a beautiful young London-based documentary producer Lucy King. Compelled by a strange connection to the mystery and to the handsome Dr. Alex Stafford, whose family is inextricably linked to the legacy, Lucy embarks on an international adventure to unlock the hidden treasure of the Rose Labyrinth. Each new secret she unearths from Alex's long-buried family history reveals a bizarre coincidence that draws them together. But a dangerous force is on her trail, And the closer she gets to the end of the maze, the deadlier her quest becomes. So, say no more. And if the book refers is compared to Da Vinci Code, and if it says historical thriller, then I'm in. Although I did look at, because although the first time I went to consider this book, not when I actually bought it, but before that, when I was thinking about buying it, but I didn't at the time. I did look at reviews, and I don't remember what people said, because I do look at 3-star reviews to decide if I can't make a decision. Which, especially if I want to stick to my 3-book rule. But I broke that rule today, and I will show you those in a minute. But, the premise sounds so cool, and I like that it's women protecting this instead of, men, instead of it being about men protecting it. As a female reader, I really like that idea. And I just like the idea of, like, history, and the idea of something from history coming up again, and people having to, preserve it and protect it, and, like, people trying to figure out what it is, like the secrets of the past. I like those kinds of premises. But anyway, so there, I got that one as well, that the day when I bought these 3. So now I bought, this is a book, I think I did talk about this one. This was a book that I kept, like, I knew I wanted to buy it, but I kept getting distracted by other books. But this is Kate Morton's latest book. I love Kate Morton. I will read anything. She is one of the couple of authors that I will automatically buy her books. Like, even Brandon Sanderson, Stephen King, I haven't necessarily bought all their books immediately when they came out. Like, some of their books, especially more so with Stephen King than Brandon Sanderson. Brandon Sanderson, I would be more prone to buy his books because he's a fantasy author. But even those two guys, I can't consider them auto-buy authors, because I wouldn't, they will sometimes write stuff that is just hasn't been my cup of tea. But she is still an author that I have bought every one of her books and read. I mean, it took me a while to buy her last book too, but I did finally read it, The Clockmaker's Daughter, and I did like it. But this is Homecoming, her latest book. I love the gold and the blue. This shade of blue I think is really pretty. Right, that's why. Because I just looked at a bookie at the bookshop today where it just had this on the back, and that really annoys me. But this book has the French flaps. I don't know if that book did, but this one has the French, where it has the description there. So at the end of a scorching hot day beside a creek on the grounds of a grand country house, a local man makes a terrible discovery. Police are called, and the small town of Tambilla becomes embroiled in one of the most baffling murder investigations of South Australia. So a lot of her books either take place in England or Australia. Many years later, thousands of miles away, Jess is a journalist in search of a story. Having lived and worked in London for nearly 2 decades, she now finds herself unemployed, struggling to make ends meet. A phone call summons her back to Sydney, where her beloved grandmother Nora, who raised Jess when her mother could not, has suffered a fall and is seriously ill in the hospital. At Nora's house, Jess discovers a true crime book chronicling a long-buried police investigation, the Turner family tragedy of 1959. It is only when Jess skims through its pages that she finds a shocking connection between her own family and this notorious event, a mystery that has never been satisfactorily resolved. An epic story that spans generations, Homecoming asks what will we do for those we love, how we protect the lies we tell, and what it means to come home. It explores the power of motherhood and the corrosive effects of tightly held secrets, and the healing nature of the truth Above all, it is an intricate and spellbinding novel from the finest writers working today. But yeah, so it, again, like I said, her novels go back and forth, or England in Australia. I think because Kate Morton herself is Australian, but she lives in England, I think, or vice versa. I don't remember. I would have to look at the website, but yep, it sounds really good, and it has all the elements I love about like someone piecing together the past, having a strange connection to a tragic event. A lot of her books all of her books kind of have all those elements, and I love it. So, finally going to read this at some point. Probably waiting until this winter or fall or autumn. Okay, so one last book before I show you what I bought today. So this one I got the other day, and that is The Book of Lost Things. And I do know it has a sequel, but I don't know if it's a direct sequel or if it's one of these books where the book and the title appears in the second book as well. But the premise sounded really good, and it actually sounds like a very autumnal book. Even though, like I said, I'm just bad at fulfilling the whole seasonal reading. So, I'm gonna read the back again. I'm gonna read the back just like before. High in his attic bedroom, 12-year-old David mourns the death of his mother, with only the books on his shelf for company. But those books have begun to whisper to him in the darkness. Angry and alone, he takes refuge in his imagination, and soon finds that reality and fantasy have begun to meld. While his family falls apart around him, David is violently propelled into a world that is a strange reflection of his own, populated by heroes and monsters and ruled by a fated king who keeps his secrets in a mysterious book, the Book of Lost Things. Taking readers on a vivid journey through the loss of innocence and into adulthood and beyond, New York Times bestselling author John Connolly tells a dark, compelling tale that reminds us of the enduring power of stories in our lives. That sounds so cool. And just any book that focuses on the power of stories and people, and is just always gets like, I love those kinds of stories. So I guess that would probably be something that a quote unquote buzzword. Like, it's not one word obviously, but just that kind of premise of like a stories really gets my attention, I think. Would. And I like it's about a kid, but it's still an adult book, I think. And like I said, there is a sequel, and I do believe the main character is a girl, because I did read the back description of that when I looked at it at the bookstore. So like I said, I don't know if it's a direct sequel or, if it just the book, like this king's book is in that one or something. Like maybe this girl also becomes part of this world. But so that sounded really good. So let me show you what I bought today. Okay, so, and like I said, I broke my rule and got 4 books instead of 3 this time. But like I said, I'm not, because it's an used bookstore and so cheap, I'm not counting it to my budget. So I'm good there. Okay, here they are. So, okay, first we have this one, The Golden Notebook by Doris Lessing. And I've heard this author's name before. So let's see how well I remember so like, I do believe the author, the main character of the story has these different parts of her life that she writes about in these different colored notebooks. And she wants to put them all together into one notebook, which is the Golden Notebook. But it kind of, I believe her health is deteriorating, or like her mental health is deteriorating, and like everything's kind of very confusing with the books and everything. Like, it's not as it's very chaotic and all over the place with these notebooks. So this feels very much, but it just sounded really intriguing, in the idea of this woman trying to put her life back together, putting her life together in these different stories and having like everything all in different notebooks, and it just sounded like just a really good heartfelt story. So I ended up getting, and I just couldn't decide, so I got this one. And then we have a book that is a newer book, and it was, in fact, is the newest book that I bought today, and it was one I remember seeing at Walmart and other, and I saw it at Books A Million as well, but of course it'll be more expensive. Even at Walmart, it'll be more expensive than it is here. It's only, if I just bought this, I only spent like all four of these $16, and if I bought this even at Walmart, it'd be a little cheaper than 16, like maybe 13 something, but still more, that would be for one book, even at Walmart. So this is The Cloisters by Katie Hayes, and I remember hearing about this book on BookTube, and so, and like the fact that she is a curator at a museum, that got my attention. And also the tarot cards. Studying tarot cards is really cool. That got my attention as well. So let me just read the back. Okay, Anna Stillwell arrives in New York City. She expects to spend her summer working as a curatorial associate at a museum at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Instead, she finds herself assigned to the Cloisters, a medieval art museum and garden, where she meets a group of enigmatic researchers studying the history of tarot. Desperate to escape her painful past, Anne is happy to indulge the researchers' more outlandish theories about the ancient divination. But what begins as academic curiosity quickly turns into obsession when Anne discovers a hidden deck of 15th century tarot cards that might hold the key to predicting the future. When the dangerous game of power, seduction, ambition turns deadly, Anne becomes locked in a race for answers and ultimately must decide if the tarot cards can teach her not only about the past but also about her future. So that premise just sounds so cool. I remember when I saw it at Walmart, but there was, of course there also was another book I wanted to buy that I got at Walmart. That might have been when I got the One for My Enemy. That might have been when I got that one. So at the time, I think that one sounded more intriguing, even though this does sound really good. So, but I figured let me just get it, and it was just put on the shelf actually. So I was thinking, oh, maybe I should not get this one and then let someone else discover it, and then. But I have been wanting to, I wanted to get it. I thought about it when I looked at Walmart, saw it there, and this is the only place I'll ever get it really this cheap. And like individually, this is only $4. So, so let me just go ahead and grab it. Okay, so the last two, and yes, two more, because I broke my rule and got 4 books instead of 3, are classics. One of them I think might be a nonfiction. I consider nonfiction. Or maybe not. But first, 10 Days That Shook the World by John Reed. And this guy's writing about the revolution, the Russian Revolution. And he's a journalist. Okay, so 10 Days That Shook the World is John Reed's eyewitness account of the Russian Revolution, a contemporary journalist writing in the first flush of revolutionary enthusiasm. He gives a gripping record of the events of Petrograd in November 1917 when Lenin and the Bolsheviks finally seized power, containing verbatim reports both of speeches by leaders and the chance comments of bystanders, set against an idealized backcloth of proletarian soldiers, sailors, and peasants, uniting to throw off the oppression. Reed's account is the product of passion and involvement and remains an unsurpassed classic of reporting. So, which I think means this is nonfiction. But I really like, I like Russian history. I think that it's really intriguing and interesting, and so that one. And then the last book I got, is The Lady of Camillas by Alexandre Dumas. So I love Moulin Rouge. It's one of my favorite musicals, and this is what Moulin Rouge was based off of. So it is, apparently, according to Henry James, is the greatest love story. Okay, so this first paragraph is basically a quote. Is basically like saying what it inspired and everything. Okay, so and how it's based on a real life person. Okay, so known to all as the Lady of Camillas because she is never seen without her favorite flowers, Marguerite Gautier is the most beautiful, brazen, and expensive courtesan in all of Paris. But despite having many lovers, she is never really loved until she meets Armand Duval, young, handsome, and hopelessly in love with her. But the fact that this is what inspired Moulin Rouge definitely got me, as soon as I, read that this was the novel that inspired Moulin Rouge, I definitely grabbed it. And I think I've heard one of the booktubers I watched mention having this, they just bought this book or something. They bought the book and they wanted to read it, I think. It might have been Jennifer Brooks, actually. That much. I don't know if it was her or not. It might have been someone else. But yeah, I remember someone mentioning this book. But yeah, I love The Count of Monte Cristo. I still have yet to get back to The Three Musketeers. I did earlier this year. I did make some progress on that one. I think it was earlier this year, or it might have been at the end of last year. I don't know, but so I do need to get back to that one as well. That's another Dumas book. But so yeah, so this time, so those are the 4 books I purchased today. That is my reading right now. So on a non-bookish related note, I'm still on my newest obsession with Ryan Reynolds. And I've watched as many movies as I can get access to via Netflix, HBO Max, and Prime Video. So now some of them I wanted to watch Green Lantern, despite the fact he was not happy with that one. Green Lantern, and then I also watched X-Men Origins, which is another one that now in the case of X-Men Origins, I remember I watched one of his interviews where he admitted that it's still a good movie. It's just his character, it's not good for Deadpool. It's not a good representation. It did not do a good Deadpool. It was just a mess. It wasn't even recognizable. And which motivated him to do a Deadpool movie. And although I think he said that he had already been planning on doing that, and then he was told by 20 that was his only opportunity at that moment to do Deadpool. And I guess because they weren't sure if this movie was going to be successful. And I think it's actually a pretty cool movie. I think it did a pretty good job. I think Hugh Jackman is amazing, and but I don't think it did as good as some other X-Men movies have done. But I still think it was a pretty good movie, and like I said, I want to watch Green Lantern because I remember watching it, and yes, I actually liked it. I thought it was good when I first watched it a long time ago, or at least I remember. I mean, it's been so long, so I'm not entirely sure, but I think I liked it. And but I do want to watch it again. And that's actually the movie where he met his wife, which her career things are not going well for her right now. She's kind of got herself into some trouble. But that's where they first met, and they were, so, and I think that story is cute. That whole story is cute. How they, were friends first for a long time, and then years later like he told a story about how they both were on a double date, and then the rest is history. But anyways, I've watched Van Wilder multiple times actually, because that's one of the ones that surprisingly that I like. That I really enjoyed that one enough to watch it multiple times, because it has some gross humor, and like, it has stuff in it that, like, it's, not exactly, although there's a love story and there's a romance in there, or, and then there's also like our main female lead. She is a journalist, so she's smart, and and it has a lot of sweetness to the story. It has some gross stuff and immature humor, but it also has a sweetness to the story as well. And I've seen Amityville Horror, which I think is his best performance. The remake. I have not seen the original Amityville, and that's the only Amityville movie that I've seen. But I think his performance as the character George and what happens to his character is, he just puts on he is scary in that movie, and in a good way. He like puts on an amazing performance in that movie, and like he has kids that I think is going to be years before he lets them watch that movie. Like, wait until they're well into adulthood. I'm not talking about the R rating or anything like that, because I mean, he let his 9-year-old see Deadpool, and of course his 9-year-old was also in Deadpool, not the original, the Deadpool and Wolverine movie. She makes a cameo, so I think she was 9. So it's not about the R rating. I think that movie would traumatize his kids. And then I've seen Waiting, which that's a funny movie. It's about like waiters, at this restaurant that's kind of like Applebee's or something. And just one day, and them working, and it's funny. It's a funny movie. I have never watched the sequel, but I'm not interested in the sequel, because movies like that technically, and a lot of times in my experience, a movie like that's a comedy classic, that if it gets made, if there's a sequel and like only a handful of cast members from the original movie aren't in it, especially the ones that are like major characters in it, it won't be the same. I saw watch definitely maybe, which I'm thinking about watching that one again. That one was really that was really cute. That's one of the ones I had seen before. That at the time I was just like watched it. It was cute, but I didn't really wasn't like, it's just another one to add to my list of movies that I had watched. But now I'm like actually paying attention to it, and I actually care about it, and I'm interested and excited to watch it. So I watched that one. That's the one where he plays a dad. He plays a dad of Abigail Breslin's character, and he and his wife, played by Elizabeth Banks, are getting divorced. And although I guess I shouldn't. I just realized I might have spoiled the movie a little bit. And his daughter, who I don't know how old she's supposed to be, maybe like 10. And when he's going to pick her up, he learns that her and her classmates learned about puberty and the sex talk and everything. So his daughter, because of him and his mom are getting divorced and everything, and she wants to know the story of how he met her mom and wants to know who her mom, So he reluctantly, because she won't leave him alone, tells the story of how he met her mom and the other two women in his life. It's a really cute, very sweet movie. It's, like I said, Elizabeth Banks, Abigail Breslin plays the daughter. You have Isla Fisher plays one of the women that he falls for, and then you have Rachel Weisz is another woman that is actually friends with Elizabeth Banks' character. And Kevin Kline also is in the movie as a minor character, this older writer and professor that Rachel Weisz is dating in the movie when she first meets the dad. But it's a really sweet, very fun movie. And then I also watched The Anna Project. I just finished watching again last night. That was really good. Very, it's kind of science fiction, but with, but it's also about a father and son relationship. Like Ryan plays this guy he's a pilot from 1250, and he ends up traveling back into he needs to travel. He finds out that his dad's old partner stole his dad's work and took credit for it. So he's been defying this woman, and he ends up traveling, and he believes she killed his wife and is responsible for his life. So he is trying to go back to 2018 to see if he can rescue his wife and prevent her from getting killed. But he ends up overshooting and ends up in 2022 instead, and meets his 12-year-old self. And he has to, and his 12-year-old self ends up helping him travel back in time. But he also, you find out that his 12-year-old self is kind of dealing with grief because his dad died in a car accident a year before. And he's still Adam is his name. He's still kind of dealing. He's now angry and bitter about it, and and as is the kid, but the kid is not as cynical and not as bitter as he is at this point, because he's only, and it's a bit of an adventure story, but it has a lot of heart, and it's a very sweet, a very emotional story, and it looks at the idea of what if you could go back in time to, you see your past and, talk to your younger self, or like heal your old griefs, and and heal old relationships and forgive yourself, and just like and like, what if you could meet your parents and get a chance to talk to them, so kind of like what Back to the Future does, but a little more a different, in kind of a heavier way. But it's really good. Okay, so what else have I watched? Oh, I watched Six Underground, which is normally not my kind of movie. It was kind of cool. It was fun. It was like these people have to, they pretend to die and create this secret agency who takes care of world criminals, and protects the world by taking out these bad people. It's a lot of action, and it's a Michael Bay movie. And it's like, it's fun, it's cool, but it's normally, I probably won't watch it again. It's not my normal cup of tea, but I want to try it anyway. And then I watched Red Notice, which was really good. It's him with Gal Gadot and Dwayne The Rock Johnson. So it's a newer, I think it came out like last year or something. And so he is an art thief, and the FBI is onto him while he's on a mission to steal this I think it's this egg that belonged to Cleopatra. It's like a Fabergé egg type thing. And like there were 3 of them, and one of them is missing or something like that. So he's trying to steal all 3 eggs. But there is this one particular criminal known as the Bishop, and she's kind of his rival, and he's competing with her to be number 1. And she ends up hiring him along with the FBI Agent Hartley, played by Dwayne Johnson, to steal the egg for her. And he gets framed. She gets him involved by him getting framed, and so he's on the run while at the same time reluctantly helping them get the egg. It's a really fun movie. I like that. No, I like that better than Six Underground. That's more of a movie I'd be into than Six Underground. It's funny. It's an action, but it's not like But there's a lot of heartfelt moments, really funny moments. I like the banter between the 3 of them, the back and forth, and it's just like, in the kind of good, one of those adventure stories where 2 people buddy stories where these 2 people are traveling companions, but they're opposite personalities, and they're forced to travel together and go do this thing together, and they just cannot stand each other. Like, it's one of those kinds of movies. It's so good. It's just really funny. Trying to think of what else. Did I cover all of them? I think I did. I think I covered all of them, all the movies I've seen so far. But anyway, so yeah, I want to talk about that as well. Sorry, I hope you guys didn't mind me talk about that. But anyway, so are there how is everyone's reading going this summer? Is there any book you really, have you found a book you absolutely love that you're going to talk about at the end of the year? That you feel like is a favorite? Have you recently hauled books, or have you been to the library lately? Would love to know that as well. And is there any good movies? Because I love movies too, movies and TV shows. So are there any good movies you guys have watched lately? Or like, have you seen Deadpool and Wolverine, or have you, or okay, I'm gonna stop there because now I'm going with the whole thing, like which I try not to do. So if you guys like this video, please give a thumbs up and click subscribe if you're interested in more of my videos, and click the bell icon if you want to be notified about my latest videos. And I hope you all are enjoying your reading, and I will talk to you all later. All right, bye.